Order. Order.
The draft Higher Education Fee Limits and Fee Limit Condition England Amendment Regulations 2026.
I call the Minister to move the motion.
I beg to move that the committee has considered the draft Higher Education Fee Limits and Fee Limit Condition England Amendment Regulation 2026. To begin, I would like to take this opportunity very briefly to explain that within the explanatory note for the SI, there was a discrepancy in the percentage increase for 2026-27, stated at 2.7% when it should have stated 2.71%, and the percentage increase for 2027-28 stated 2.8% when it should have stated 2.68%. I can reassure members that a correction slip has been arranged regarding this, and the other figures, the consequential figures on monetary terms, are not affected in the SI. It's a pleasure to serve under your chairmanship this afternoon, Sir John. This SI, which was laid in draft on the 5th of February, increases the limits on tuition fees for higher education providers so that they can charge students studying an undergraduate course at approved fee cap providers in the 2026-27 and 2027-28 academic years. Our higher education sector is critical to delivering a key mission for this government, which is economic growth. It does so through world-leading research and innovation, supporting businesses up and down the country, and by equipping people with the knowledge and skills they need to thrive. In some ways, higher education plays a part in most people's lives in this country, whether through direct participation in university, through research, or the role it plays in our local communities. We're all impacted by universities. It is also crucial for our future prosperity and wealth as a country. But now the sector is facing severe challenges. Office for Students analysis suggests that without mitigating action, 45% of institutions faced a deficit in 2025-2026. English providers are attempting to manage significant financial pressures. One of these is the £1.7 billion aggregated loss of domestic teaching and the need for providers to draw on other income to cover it. Such challenges have been unaddressed for far too long, and 7 years of frozen tuition fees, plus overly optimistic strategic and financial planning and potential issues with governance, have contributed to the financial challenge facing providers. This government didn't shy away from these decisions, and we started to fix the foundations by increasing fee limits for 25-26 and boosting the sector's income. But we must go further if we're to put the sector on a stable footing and provide it with the greater financial certainty that it needs. This can be achieved by boosting incomes with conditions of improving teaching quality. That's why through this SI, we intend to raise the fee limits for a further 2 years. This is necessary to ensure that the sector can face the challenges of the next decade and to ensure that students today and in the future can receive a world-class higher education. It will mean that for the 2026-27 academic year, from the 1st of August 2026 onwards, tuition fee limits for undergraduate courses will increase by 2.71%, and for the 27-28 academic year, from the 1st of August 2027 onwards, by a further 2.68%, in line with forecast inflation based on RPI X inflation index. This means an increase to £9,790 for a standard full-time course in 26-27 and to £10,050 in 27-28. It means an increase to £11,750 for a full-time accelerated course in 26-27 and to £12,060 in 27-28. The fee limits that apply to lower fee foundation years for classroom-based subjects such as business, social science and humanities that begin on or after the 1st of August 2025 are preserved at 25-26 levels, 26-27 and 27-28. I recognise that there are concerns regarding the current student finance system, and people have concerns regarding the affordability of higher education. We inherited a broken system and we take borrowers' complaints seriously. We've already committed to reintroducing maintenance grants and to future-proofing our maintenance supports offer by increasing loans for living costs with forecast inflation every academic year from 26-27. And we will continue to look for ways to make the system fairer. This government is firmly committed to ensuring that access to higher education is based on ability and aspiration, not financial means. Eligible students can continue to apply for upfront fee loans to meet the full cost of their tuition. Given the inherited fiscal situation, we are making these necessary decisions to protect both taxpayers and students. The government continuously reviews student finance to ensure it remains fair, sustainable and supportive of students from all backgrounds. We have an expectation of the higher education sector too. We expect it to do more to improve access for those from disadvantaged backgrounds and to focus on efficiency and specialisation to deliver the very best value for students and for the country. We will make future fee uplifts conditional on higher education providers achieving a high quality threshold through the Office for Students Quality regime. This will protect taxpayers' investment in higher education and reward providers for high quality. We will set out further details on future changes to tuition fee caps in due course. We are clear that the diversity of this sector is a strength, but each provider needs to be clear on their distinctive role in the system and move away from a one-size-fits-all approach. And each provider needs to be well run, delivering the very best value for students and operating as efficiently as possible. To conclude, this SI will put our higher education sector on a more secure footing, giving it greater financial certainty and therefore enabling it to deliver the world-class higher education that current and future generations deserve. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm minded to allow the considerations to continue, notwithstanding the fact that the explanatory note is effectively inaccurate. And whilst I appreciate the Minister's courtesy in correcting that, in future, those things should be done in advance and in writing and put on the table here so that all members of the committee can see them. So I will be saying to my fellow chairman that should be the rule that we adopt, but for the convenience of all members here, I am going to proceed with consideration of the instrument now. Thank you. The question is, therefore, that the committee has considered the draft Higher Education Fee Limits and Fee Limit Conditions England Amendment Regulations 2026. Alicia Cant.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to serve under your chairmanship, Sir John. I think you were very magnanimous there about the inaccuracies in the documents before us. There is a real and growing burden on young people already struggling in a difficult labour market, and today this will only add to it. Keir Starmer was elected leader of the Labour Party on a pledge to scrap tuition fees altogether. The Education Secretary promised graduates they would pay less under a Labour government, offering her own words, breathing space at the start of their working lives. And yet in office, Labour has done the exact opposite. Tuition fees raised by 3.1% to £9,535 was an act labelled economically and morally wrong by university chiefs. Perhaps the government will be grateful that the impact assessment today has no reference to the impact of this on young people. The government then froze repayment thresholds, an effective tax on graduates that Martin Lewis himself called not a moral thing to do. This is not breathing space, it is an attack on students. To add insult to injury, universities didn't even benefit because every penny of those higher fees was wiped out by Labour's job tax. And now, having already hammered students and graduates, this government returns to do it again, raising maximum tuition fees further to £9,790 next year and £10,050 the year after. This is after the Conservatives froze university tuition fees for 8 years. The reality of Plan 2 student loans means that millions of graduates' debt is growing faster than they will ever be able to repay it. I see this within my own team, who are looking at fees that go up and up and up, looking at £72,000 worth of debt, £80,000 worth of debt. That is something that we must fix, and we must reflect on how we got there and make sure we learn from mistakes and correct them.
Will the Honourable Lady give way?
I will happily give way on that point.
I thank the Honourable Lady for giving way, and I do find it quite astounding that she's making this statement given her government, her coalition government with the Liberal Democrats, almost tripled tuition fees to £9,000 in 2012. £9,000 tripled in 2012.
But I didn't actually hear a question in that intervention. And it's basic courtesy within the House that when you intervene, you ask a question. But I congratulate him on getting a whipped point there. And actually, listen to my wording was, I think I just said that we should reflect and learn from how we got here. I was acknowledging that we must learn when we make mistakes and learn from them. And that's exactly what I just said in my comments, and he takes me on to my next bit, so I thank him for recognising that I said that we must learn from mistakes, but as there was no question, I wouldn't be able to answer one. The average Plan 2 graduate must now earn £66,000 a year just to begin paying down their balance. Raising the fee cap makes this problem worse, not better. Youth unemployment, Sir John, stands at 16.1%, the highest in over a decade and higher than the European average. That is the first time that our country has been in that place since records began. Graduate recruitment is at a record low, and yet this government's answer is to load more debt onto young people's shoulders, and this is a betrayal of the young generation. Now, young people do deserve better than this, and that's why the Conservatives are proposing a genuine new deal for young people. We will abolish real interest rates on Plan 2 loans so that balances can never spiral beyond inflation again. We will guarantee fully funded apprenticeship places for 18 to 21-year-olds and introduce a first job bonus to get young people into work and saving for their futures. In contrast to what Martin Lewis said about the government's approach, which is not a moral thing to do, he has welcomed this plan and said it's the right thing to do. Higher fees without better outcomes is not a higher education policy. It is yet another broken policy from the Labour Party, who are simply burdening young people with more and more debt. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Ian Solomon.
Thank you, Sir John. It's a pleasure to serve under you today. I will speak briefly. The Liberal Democrats won't be supporting this instrument today. We do understand why the government brought it forward. Universities are under severe financial pressure and the sector needs sustainable funding. We absolutely accept that. But accepting that problem does not mean that we accept the solution. Our position continues to be that any changes to fee limits must be part of a wider package of reform. Students deserve to know not just what they'll pay, but whether repayment terms will be fair, whether the system as a whole treats them honestly, and that the terms won't be changed against them when convenient. At the moment, young people can see that those questions don't have satisfactory answers, and that's why we've called for a Royal Commission on Graduate Finance to address them properly. But reform of student finance is only half the picture. We're also clear that fee increases should come with clear expectations of universities in return, demonstrable financial sustainability, transparent reporting of how money is spent, and accountability on student outcomes. None of that conditionality is on offer here. Asking students to pay more while the underlying system remains unreformed, and without that clear accountability for how the money is used, is not something that we can support. Thank you.
Thank you. This is the correction you mentioned that I drew the Committee's attention to. That's going to be produced, delivered today, I assume.
It should have already been submitted.
Okay,
Mr.
thank
Chairman.
you.
Yeah.
Minister.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I thank the committee for its contributions to this debate today, and will endeavour to respond to the 2 points made by my right honourable,
Just honourable
friends, honourable members opposite. Before I turn to those questions, I'd like to reiterate the importance of this statutory instrument for putting our higher education sector on a secure financial footing and providing the financial certainty that the sector needs. I have not heard from either party opposite how they would propose to do that in the absence of this statutory instrument for the financial years that are being talked about here. Mr. Chairman, there are a few other phrases for the position of the Conservative Party other than crocodile tears, I'm afraid to say. The Honourable Lady highlighted repayment thresholds. I haven't had the chance to look at her speaking or voting record, but during the 2012 onward period, having designed and introduced the very system that she is now criticising, in the year in which that system was introduced, the government of the day made a commitment not to increase, not to freeze thresholds, but to increase them. In its very first year, it froze the threshold. I would be delighted to give way if the Honourable Lady would answer the question, how many other times was the threshold frozen by that government?
Yes, you can.
I just want to put on record, Mr. Chairman, that unfortunately I can't tell him my voting record because I was still just finishing university at that point. I didn't want him to unnecessarily age me in this debate. So I just want to put the record that I'm afraid I can't give him that data because I was still enjoying the joys of life.
Fantastic. Good. I'm pleased to hear that that was where she was. The Conservative government and the Conservative Liberal Democrat coalition froze thresholds 10 times. 10 times. The value of... I will gladly give away on that point.
Ian Sullivan.
Thank you. Thank you for giving away. He's made that point, the Minister's made that point in several debates now. I would just like to flag the commitment was to raise thresholds from when the first cohort graduated, which was in 2016, and that was indeed why Martin Luce tried or investigated a judicial review in 2016. So there wasn't a freezing of thresholds prior to that. It was due to rise from 2016. I'd just like to, I'm sure it didn't mean to mislead that.
In fact, the current, I believe it's Plan 5 student loan system, which is due to come online with the first graduates this year, has been increased in line with inflation by this government. So the point does stand that the choices of the government then were to maintain the threshold at the point it was at and freeze it effectively, capturing many more into the system. Now, the cumulative effect of 10 threshold freezes during a decade where inflation was ticking up is being felt by students now, and to hear from parties opposite that they are outraged that this government, which was able to lift the threshold in our first year in office and able to find the money to do so, is now balancing difficult decisions to try and make sure we've got the funding needed for further education, where over half of students don't go to university but need a well-resourced skills system, is somewhat galling. Both parties seem to now be walking away from their responsibility to make a system that they designed work effectively, which is unfortunate. Members of this committee will, however, know how crucial, and I'm sure this is felt across the House, this sector is for our economic growth, its importance in contributing to research and innovation, and the impact it has on local communities, on the lives of those students that study within it. We know that challenges within higher education were left unaddressed for far too long, and providers have suffered a significant real terms decline in their income. The government hasn't shied away from the decisions that are needed, and we took action to raise the fee cap in 25-26. And we have committed to bringing back maintenance grants and future-proofing our maintenance loan for students. But we need to go further so that our higher education sector can continue to deliver the world-class education and research that this country and future generations deserve.
Will you give way?
Yeah, on the final word, I'll gladly give way.
Thank you. I feel like I want to give way. Sorry, I want to just make a short intervention, as I feel like we may be dividing on this. And whilst the parties opposite don't have a leg to stand on in this debate, I have to take issue with the idea that by simply increasing the fee structure, we put universities on a secure and stable footing. They rely on cross-subsidy from international students. The funding model is widely debated outside this place as in chaos and crisis. And in the end, we have the stonking great majority in the House of Commons, and I think we need to be thinking about much further reforms, make sure the university sector is fit for the modern day, and especially fit for the AI revolution that's coming.
Because I got your name right, I thought you were very well into that.
I appreciate honourable friend for making that intervention and for drawing the committee's attention to the wider context of the debate around higher education funding at the moment. It is true to say that fee income is only one line of income for universities, and there are a whole bunch of pressures that they're facing in a very competitive environment. The government is committed to looking at the student loan system and making it fairer. I've made that commitment, the Prime Minister has, as has the Education Secretary. The thing that I would draw the committee's attention to, and the urgency, I guess, of this point, is that 10 years, well not 10 years, a number of years of freezes on the tuition fee cap has eroded the income value, which is a significant income stream for universities. If that were to continue, it would further heighten the situation, and I've spent time as a minister listening to MPs making very powerful representations about the challenges that universities in their own constituencies face because of the legacy of that erosion of the value of the fee income. If we were to not increase in line with inflation, which is what we're talking about here, it would further add to that funding challenge that universities face. And I don't think it would be responsible for us to do that, given the financial years that we're talking about are pretty imminent.
Would the Regent give way one final time?
I'll give way one final time.
I'm very grateful. I sure it will be asked. I'm given at the Minister opened the box of funding for universities. Obviously, you mentioned how central this funding is.
Nice try.
Obviously, one of my gravest concerns is the amount of money that's coming from the Chinese Communist Party into our universities. Does he believe that by taking the action today, that the government will be able to focus on making sure that they crack down on those universities who seem to think there is no problem with taking vast amounts of sums from China, who then threaten MPs with saying they will not take their children at their university because they are sanctioned, who threaten that they will withdraw all funding from universities if the Dalai Lama speaks at them, or if there's any effort by Hong Kong or others? Will he make sure that those sorts of funding streams are cracked down on, given that they're taking action to making sure that universities have a more valid footing?
We're not debating how universities are funded by overseas territories, but I'll let that go. Minister, very briefly on that, and then let's move on.
Yes, I'm sure the committee will be delighted that I give a short answer on this, and a point of reassurance that, of course, where universities have got a responsibility to ensure that they contribute to upholding human rights and also freedom of speech, they've got a really important role to play. We have got plans to strengthen the role and responsibility of universities in that respect, and the role of the Office for Students. And it's an important point to highlight, even though it's not directly relevant to this SI. On that point, I will finish. Thank you.
Very good. So the question is, the committee has considered the draft higher education fee limits and fee limit condition England Amendment Regulation 2026. As many of that opinion say aye.
Aye.
The contrary, no. I think the ayes have it. The ayes have it. Order, order.